Hi everyone, we've had another busy week here in school and I know that you've all still been working really hard at home, so well done. You're doing ever so well keeping going with your work at home. It's been lovely to see the things that you've been doing, and I've had some great emails through with videos of what you've been doing and pictures of your work, so well done. This week's assembly is all about next week's National Refugee Week, and we're going to be talking about what a refugee is, what it might be like to be a refugee, and how we can help people who have had to leave their country. So a refugee is somebody who's been forced to leave their home. That doesn't mean they've been forced by other people always. It might have been that there was a natural disaster and their home was destroyed or wasn't safe to live in. It might be that they live somewhere where there's a war, and that means that it's not safe for them to live there anymore. Maybe the buildings around them have been attacked or they're crumbling and not safe. Maybe the water in the taps doesn't work anymore and people aren't coming to collect the rubbish off the streets. Maybe the shops aren't open so they can't buy food. And very often these people have to make a decision quite quickly to leave where they live. So they're not just going to leave their house, they're leaving their street and their town, and very often leaving the whole country and moving away somewhere new. And often it isn't safe to get in a car and drive, or they might not have a car, so they have to do that on foot. So they have to be able to carry everything that they're going to take with them. So I had a little think about that this morning. This is the bag that I brought to school with me today, and I've emptied it. It's quite a big bag, and I could definitely carry it for quite a long way. But then I started thinking, what would I put in it? So if you want to, you can pause me now, go and grab a rucksack or a bag, pop it on your lap whilst we're talking and see what you would put in yours. Have you got your bag? Brilliant. So I was thinking, what would I put in there? If I knew I was going on a really long journey and I wasn't probably ever going to go back to my home ever again, what would I want to take? Now I'd have to take some clothes because I couldn't stay in the same clothes all the time, although if I'm walking for many, many days, there might not be somewhere for me to change, but I'd like a change of clothes. I think I'd take my toothbrush and some toothpaste, but then I would have to choose, wouldn't I, between the things that I wanted to take and the things I needed to take. So I might want to take something sentimental like a photograph or a teddy or a book, but I'd need to take things like food and water and things to keep me warm like blankets and sleeping bags for sleeping at night. And that must be a really, really hard decision because you know that whatever you leave behind, you're probably not going to see again. So that's the first thing. Refugees have to decide what they're going to take with them, and sometimes it's a very quick decision. They have to just decide very quickly before they leave. And then there's that long journey to trying to find somewhere safe to live, somewhere new. And very often on that journey, there's not anywhere to sleep, so there isn't a home. And they might have to live in refugee camps for quite a long time with lots of other people that they don't know. And eventually when they get to a new place that seems safe where they can live, they might not know the language, they certainly wouldn't know anybody, might not recognise the food or understand the cultures, and they're having to start all over again. And very often people don't make them feel very welcome. So next week is all about making refugees feel welcome if they were to arrive in your town or in your street or in your school. And thinking about how hard their time must have been and how hard it must be coming somewhere new. We're really lucky here at Westfield because we have a brilliant sense of belonging. We wear a uniform, we have our lanyards, we know our Westie way, and it makes us feel part of something. And when somebody new comes into that, we'd want them to feel part of it too. My story this week is called My Name Is Not Refugee. That sounds a bit of a funny story title, doesn't it? My Name Is Not Refugee. But when people are new to a school and you don't know their name, but you know they're a refugee, you might say, oh, the refugee. But actually, everybody has a name and an identity and a personality. And it would be really lovely that if we get to know them first before making any judgment about them. So I'm going to read my story to you now, and I'll see you in a little bit once I've finished. Okay?
This story is called My Name Is Not Refugee by Kate Milner. We have to leave this town, my mother told me. It's not safe for us here, she said. Shall I tell you what it will be like? And the rest of the story is the mother telling her son what their journey is going to be like. We'll have to say goodbye to old friends. You can pack your own bag, but remember, only take what you can carry. I wonder what you could take if you were told to do that. We'll say goodbye to our town. It will be a bit sad, but quite exciting too. Where they'd been living, there was no water in the taps, and nobody came to pick up the rubbish, and it was quite a dangerous place to live, and you can see from the picture that it was really uncared for, and the boy had to say goodbye. We'll march and dance and skate and run and walk and walk and walk and wait and wait and wait and get up again and walk and walk. Wonder how far you could walk if you had to. But sometimes we'll be by ourselves and it might get a bit boring. You could play some games if you were on your own, couldn't you? I wonder what they would play whilst they were bored. And sometimes we will be with other people. And all those other people you can see there are going on a similar journey to somewhere better. And we will see lots of new and interesting things. And the little boy there seeing all the different cars and trucks. We'll sleep in some strange places. And we'll hear words that we don't understand. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they'll be hearing lots of different words they don't understand? And taste new foods. I wonder what the weirdest food is that you've ever eaten, that you looked at and thought, ooh, I don't want to eat that. We'll get to a place where we are safe and we can unpack. I wonder what things a little boy will bring out of his rucksack that will remind him of his home. And soon those strange words will start to make sense. You'll be called refugee, but remember, refugee is not your name.
What did you think? He had to travel a really long way, didn't he? And I bet there were times when he was really bored or scared and didn't know what was going on. But eventually, when he got to a new school and he met new friends, he understood the language and started to fit in and feel like he belonged in that new place. Next week's theme is imagine. That's a really good word, isn't it? Imagine. We say it all the time. Imagine this. Imagine you've done this. I wonder how the character felt. Can you imagine it? We use that word all the time. Very famous poet Lem Sissay once described his wonderment at the thought that everything was imagined before it was actually physical or made. So the computer I'm looking at to record this, somebody imagined it before it became a real thing. The microphone I'm speaking into, somebody imagined it before it became a real thing. The clothes I'm wearing, somebody imagined them and what they would look like before they became a real thing. And he wrote a poem about it. I will not limit myself. I will not be afraid. If it were not imagined, how else could it be made? Lem's poem is about the fact that things are all imagined before they become real things. Next week, for National Refugee Week, there are things that you can do, and these are called simple acts. And the first might be just stopping for a moment and just thinking what you want the world to be like. Can you imagine it? What would your school be like? Your community? The town? What would the cities be like? What would planets look like if you had made them? You can take this simple act wherever your imagination wants it to go, really. You can start really small or really big. But there are these small things that you can do. If you want your community to be kinder, what could you do to help with that? If you wanted it to be more welcoming, You could write a poem about it. You could do a piece of artwork about what you want Bourne to be like, or your school. You could put it in your window. If you use your parents' social media, they can help you put something up online, and you can hashtag it Simple Acts, #Imagine, for Refugee Week next week. I'm also going to be reading a book that I purchased on my Kindle, and I'll be reading this in a separate YouTube video, and it's called The Boy at the Back of the Class. And you can see that that boy has a huge rucksack on as well, and it's written by Anjali Rauf. And she wanted to imagine what it would be like for a boy to go to a school and be a refugee, and what that would be like for him. And that's what the book's about. It's a chapter book, so I'm going to try and read all the chapters before we get to the summer holidays. So look out for those videos on YouTube. So next week, let's just recap. It's National Refugee Week. We're thinking about the hundreds of thousands of people that during lockdown haven't been able to live somewhere safe like we have, and haven't been able to have their own bed. It might be that they're travelling still, or that they're in a refugee camp, and they haven't had their things around them like we have had during lockdown to keep us comfortable and to keep us happy at home. So I really do want us to think about that next week in our work, and try those simple acts. Follow the link from this week's Westfield Weekly to the page for the Refugee Week, and there's lots of things on there that you can do, lots of resources, lots of ideas for simple acts of kindness, and lots of ideas for imagining. So I wonder what our world could be like if we imagined it, then maybe it will be so. See you soon. Bye.